Eat bold with Subway Fiery Footlong Subs. So hot they'll burn the wimp right out of you. Try the new Turkey Jalapeno Melt, a fiery twist on a legendary flavor, and the bold, delicious Buffalo Chicken, backed by popular demand. Subway, eat fresh. The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
First of all,
This is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
it might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't
The
care.
BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the Sports Guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to part 2 of the BS Report with Cousin Sal. We just did the NFL over-under win totals, and now we're going to do the divisions. And after we finish with those, we're calling our buddy House to talk basketball. Here we go.
The divisions, we go NFC first.
Yeah, hold on.
I love my Cowboys, obviously, but Philly at 3-1 odds, I think it's the best value.
All right, hold on. I can't find it. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, Dallas is even. Giants plus 280. Eagles plus 300. The Redskins plus 600. I agree. Eagles best odds. I don't know if I'd bet it, though.
Yeah.
Plus 300, probably the best one. Stay away for the most part. I think that division's going to be tough. The NFC North, Vikings plus 130. Packers plus 120. Lions plus 1,200. Bears plus 400. Boy, that Packers looks intriguing.
I like the Packers there. Although it should be higher than that. Minnesota's the incumbent. Maybe people are just betting it too, where it's almost even. But I would jump on the Packers. I think by week 10 you would love to have the Packers at plus 120 to win the division.
You know what? I'd like to have them right now in week 3 of the preseason. I think that's a great bet. Like if you're going to bet the over/under on the Packers, you might as well bet them to bet the division anyway. And plus 120, I think, solid.
Right.
I think I'm in on that. Maybe after this we'll talk.
All right. I'm gonna put a few stars by that.
NFC South. Saints minus 175. Surprising.
Move on. Saints.
Falcons
Just
plus
for a
180.
baseball game, you had a pitcher at minus 170. Like, just think about odds and stuff. Like, if you had, Lincecum is pitching, he's 175 against a lousy team, you would jump on it, right?
Yeah.
Saints are winning that division.
It's a stay away though, because it's not a great. Then NFC West, Niners minus 140, Cardinals plus 220, Seahawks plus 350. And then the Rams at plus 2,500. Man, they're almost begging you to take the Rams and hope they go 7-9.
I'm not taking that till it hits 50-1. I think Seattle's the best value there.
Man,
you don't like them though. You went under with them.
It's a stay away.
Yeah,
can't bet that division. The AFC East, Pats plus 120, Jets plus 140, Miami plus 300, Bills plus 2,500. Man, I'm surprised the Pats have the best odds. I don't understand that. And I'm a Pats fan.
I think I do think it's between the Jets and the Patriots, and Jets plus 140, a little better.
Jets plus 140 is a nice bet.
Yeah.
Isn't that a nice bet, or am I crazy?
No, that's nice. That's nice, and that's that'll go when Revis signs in a couple of days. That'll go lower, right?
Yeah. NFC North, Baltimore minus 140, Pittsburgh plus 250, a little enticing. Bengals plus 300, and then the Browns plus 2,000. Probably a stay away. I like Pittsburgh, but the odds aren't great.
Yeah, I don't like Pittsburgh. I like the Ravens, but it's a weak pick, so probably stay away.
AFC South, Titans are plus 450, Texans plus 350, Jags plus 1,800, and the Colts. I'll let America try to guess what they are for a second. Minus 240.
That's big.
How do they not win that division?
I like the Colts, but the Titans might be worth it at 4.5 to 1.
Yeah, that's not a bad long shot. I wish the odds were a little better. I wish it was like 6 to 1, but still not terrible. And then here's where I think you really make some money. The AFC West. Chargers minus 300, Raiders plus 600, Chiefs plus 600, Denver plus 700. The Chiefs 6 to 1 is really nice.
I think you feel about the Chiefs the way I feel about the Raiders.
Well, so how about this? What if you bet 1,000 on the Chiefs and 1,000 on the Raiders? Doesn't that mean So you're basically betting 2,000 to win 500 or 5,000.
Yeah.
So you'd have
Well,
plus
you're
250
basically
odds.
betting 2,000 to lose 2,000 because you have the Chiefs and the freaking Raiders. But but I think it's not bad thinking.
So you'd have Chiefs or Raiders plus 250.
Mm-hmm. Could maybe, yeah. I think you could. Well, I always think of in terms of bailing out of a bet, like by week 12 or 13. And I think one of those teams will be right there in the thick of it, right?
Yeah.
Chargers will win that division.
Yeah, that's probably a stay away. I wish those odds were a little higher. I wish they were 8-1 or 10-1, and then I'd be a little more excited. So let's recommend these.
All right.
The Packers plus 120. Just a solid bet.
Yeah.
Either they're going to win it or the Vikings are going to win it. You're going to go, you're 50-50 odds. You're getting odds on it, and I think the Packers just look a ton better than the Vikings, at least in the preseason.
Packers are a solid bet.
And then the AFC East, a little bandwagony, but the Jets at plus 140.
Yeah.
It's pretty juicy.
Then as long as you're dumping on your team, I'll do the same. I think the Eagles at plus 300 is a nice value pick this early in the season.
Yeah, I agree.
Those are good three. I think you go 2 out of 3 if you take those 3.
As we're going to find out in real life. Cousin Sal.
By the way, let me just, before I sign up, let me just apologize to the members of the 36 or so mock auction drafts I've done. I get in the first position. As you know, you can nominate a player.
Yeah.
And I've been nominating Adrian Peterson, but not the Vikings Adrian Peterson, the fourth-string running back for the Seahawks. And people go crazy bidding on him because they see his face and they see Adrian Peterson, and they just like, and the next thing you know, someone spent like $31 on, the Seahawks Adrian Peterson. And I've had death threats, and people said I've ruined their day, and they're going to find me and kill me. And I want to apologize. It's juvenile what I did there, but I recommend it.
There's no way you're apologizing. You love it. That's great.
I apologize, but I recommend it to anyone who does a mock auction.
Last thing, we have our auction coming up, and we're having a debate whether to get an auctioneer or to all bring our computers and do it online. I really think we need the auctioneer.
Yeah?
Yeah, I really do.
We know someone who's going to deal with this for 5 hours?
I think we should have our friend Mike August. We'll just feed him. We'll feed him with free food, and he'll want to do it.
Yeah, but what about my point about we can't get through a snake draft without screaming at each other, and the screaming is the key because we have some low talkers, and then we have like Damashek who will outshout you won't even know who your team was because you can't remember who you bid.
No, it's going to work. I'm telling you, I've been in auctions. It's not a problem. Once it gets to a high enough price where there's 2 guys left, and the one guy can't say a bid after he's already bid, so there becomes a little back and forth that takes place. Sure. It's going to be fun.
Trusting you on this, Simmons. This auction could be a disaster. I envision us being there through week 3 and not even having our teams picked.
If there's a professional auctioneer out there in the LA area who wants to volunteer his services, email us. Email Joe Mead.
Right. We should get like Busey or something. Cousin
Sal, we will talk to you before week 1, which will be in 10 days.
All right, buddy. I look forward to it.
Talk to you soon. All right, before we go, we had to check in with our friend House in Washington. Some tragic sports news today. Stephen Strasburg blew out his elbow. We were all fearing it this week, and then it finally happened. And the flag in Washington is at half-mast. Also at half-mast, Joe House. He's on the Subway Fresh Take hotline right now. House, how you doing?
I'm good. I've been at half-mast for about 6 months now, though, between my wife being pregnant and just having our child.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot.
That's kind of I'm used to living that way.
I set you up for that one.
You did. I feared the worst immediately last Saturday, so I've had some time to process the outcomes here since the injury. And today with the arrival of the news, I'm kind of in the grieving phase of acceptance. I was kind of prepared for the worst, and then they announced the worst, and there are a couple of rationalizations I can walk myself through to feel okay about it. He's 22 years old, and, he was going to be treated with kid gloves next season as well. He was definitely coddled and treated with kid gloves this season. And, the sort of conventional wisdom is that you don't let a young pitcher really throw 200 innings until he's 24. And, you look at the success rate with Tommy John surgery these days, there isn't any reason at all that Strasburg couldn't be one of the 90% that, comes back as healthy as ever, a year and a half from now. And the taste that he gave us of his talent, at least for me personally, will kind of tide me over. I'll have an enormous appetite to see him come back and see him come back healthy. But having said all that, it sucks.
I knew that was coming, and I still enjoyed it.
I mean, it stinks.
I mean, you had
really?
it for like
Is
2
that
months.
Necessary? I mean, I said to you, we've had some conversations. In my lifetime as a Washington sports fan, there's only really been one player on any of my teams that's been arguably the best player in the sport, and that's Ovechkin.
Yeah.
And, after this year's playoffs and the Olympics, it's not, Ovechkin's in the discussion, but he's not the clear-cut favorite. Strasburg looked like he might be the dominant pitcher, coming on the scene here. And it would have been great these next 2 years to have continued to watch him do the things that he did in those first few starts, and we're kind of cheated of that. Now, pitchers, again, he's only 22, so he with any good luck at all, and all that the Nats have had so far is bad luck. With any good luck at all, he'll be around for 10 years, and we'll see him, sort of perform at that ability. But,
God,
really,
you're rambling. This is the most rambling I've heard you do. You're rattled. I feel it in your voice.
I'm trying to process it. It's tough. It's still fresh news. I prepared myself for it psychologically, but still.
How does the Washington sports fan psyche? I tweeted today that the list of teams that God apparently hates is Cleveland, or cities, Cleveland, Buffalo, and Seattle. I think after this, Washington might be kind of edging into that group. You won a Super Bowl with Ripon, I think, in '91, but now we're talking about 20 years, and it's been 20 years that weren't fun.
Yeah, and
there was no fun thing that happened in those 20 years, really. The highlight was when the Caps made the Cup Finals one of those
98.
years. That was it, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, the arrival of baseball in Washington was a big deal and exciting. Michael Jordan coming out of retirement, that was exciting.
For about 2 months.
The Redskins made the playoffs twice in the Dan Snyder era. So
Washington. You know what you've mastered with the Washington sports is it's almost the rooster tease, I'm going to call it, of all right, everybody get really excited. Oh, it's been a fun month. All right, we're going to now punch you in the face.
Well, and that's an especially deft way of explaining the entirety of the Dan Snyder era. I mean, that's exactly, he's the off-season champion. The Redskins have won the off-season every year since he became the owner.
He's the premier rooster teaser.
Yeah, that's
professional
exactly
sport.
Right.
And the Wizards have done that more than a couple times. And, you had the Orioles when the Albert Bell signing, and then the Orioles completely go in the tank. Then you build this new stadium, you get a team. Hey, woohoo! That goes in the tank. Then Strasburg. Then he gets hurt. Ovechkin. So, we get the best guy, choke in the playoffs. Just seems to be a theme.
It's a little bit of it feels self-fulfilling in some ways, to the extent that, like, the city's psyche is prepared for kind of the worst. I mean, that's the vibe that I feel. That's the vibe I have when I talk to my friends. We kind of, expect the worst and then are blessedly relieved when the worst doesn't come to pass. I mean, the Wizards did win the lottery.
Yeah.
We do have John Wall, but, knock on wood, God forbid he play a whole season to be healthy this first season.
That's a bad place to be. The Boston scene was in there from, like, right around that 99, 2000, 2001 range, where you just start expecting bad things to happen. You just assume that it's going to be bad.
There's reason for hope, though. I mean, there was the last conversation you and I had. I rattled off 4 or 5 reasons to be, modestly optimistic about the Washington sports scene and the forecast here. we got a little bit of a downer with the Strasburg news, but still, the Redskins are going to be interesting. They may not be great, but they're going to be interesting all season.
But they do fit that Rooster Teeth profile.
I mean, they're not going to win more than 8 games. I really don't envision any scenario where they win more than 8 games.
But you're excited about them.
Yeah, well, it's the first time, and I feel a little bit bad saying this because I'm going to slightly disparage Holy Joe Gibbs. But even the second coming of Joe Gibbs was not without its pitfalls and pratfalls. So what I'm going to say is that it's the first time that we've really had a coach who's
who's not seen out?
Not past his prime. We have a real GM for the first time in the Snyder era. So in the first time in 10, 11, 12 years, there actually looks like there's kind of a game plan and a vision, and there's a lot of talent on the Redskins. But I still, I don't have high hopes for this team.
You know who else might get thrown into the Washington Rooster Teeth syndrome?
Go ahead.
The president, Barack Obama. Quickly.
Yes.
I was in Las Vegas last weekend. And
yeah.
I convinced the guy at the Hilton Sportsbook, which is the best sportsbook in Vegas. Never realized that until I went there. Convinced him to do World Basketball Championships odds, and he did them. It took like 45 minutes, and then I bet on Spain plus 350 to win the World Basketball Championships. Yeah. I bet against my own country, and here's why. I don't like the team they picked. You know what? These tournaments, it doesn't really matter. The Olympics is the only tournament that really matters. So in this particular case, it's kind of an FU by me to the Olympic Basketball Committee because they picked a team that has 7 guards on it out of 13 guys or whatever with no big guys. Thinking the Rondo Rose thing was going to work was stupid. I just don't like anything they did. Do you blame me?
No, I don't blame you at all. And you're allowed to, vote with your dollars, whatever direction you want to go. I don't think that there's any reason that this Team USA can't win. They don't look to me to be so fatally flawed that they can't win the whole thing. But right. I'm kind of with you. I understand. It's tough to get behind a team that feels like it was thrown together in the way that it was thrown together. I was really surprised about Rondo self-selecting himself off the team, but I guess
he's going to get cut.
Well, that's what I mean. I was shocked to sort of read that in view of his ascendance these past playoffs. I mean,
there's a couple of issues. Well, first of all, from a chemistry standpoint, Rose and Rondo are natural rivals.
Yep.
And one of them had to be the guy. And the bottom line is Rose is a little better suited for international basketball. Rondo can't shoot threes and he can't make free throws.
Yeah, I think
the free throw is a big deal.
That's the astute observation.
Yeah.
For the style of play, Rose is better. That's all.
And I'm not saying Rose is ideal either because it's not like he is a fantastic three-point shooter, but he's a better free throw shooter. And, he's a little bit more aggressive off the dribble and just seems to fit in internationally better than Rondo did. It's no disrespect to Rondo. I think he's great.
Right.
Internationally, I'm not sure he's right.
I agree. I think especially the point about Rose off the dribble, some of his drives in these exhibition games have been fearless. I mean, he has been really aggressive about attacking the basket, and I've really enjoyed it. I don't remember that aspect of his game being so prominent, in the NBA seasons.
And then for, selfishly, Rondo's season was 8 weeks longer than Rose's was last year, and I'm glad that he's going to get rest and stuff. But I think they should have made the choice between those two guys well before now, and now it's going to lead to bad blood, and, Rondo will never play for this team again, obviously. But so many things about this team never made sense. Like, it seems like they're going to be playing Chauncey Billups at crunch time at shooting guard, which is a position that he's never played in his entire career. And you can't tell me that we couldn't find a shooting guard that's better than Chauncey Billups?
Well, they have one. I think it's Eric Gordon. I mean, I personally have been super impressed by
Me too.
Eric Gordon, just at this point in his career. Now,
but
Chauncey,
you and I both, but we know
Chauncey.
they're not going to play Gordon over Billups in crunch time.
That's
not happening.
That's correct.
I think J.J. Redick should have been on this team.
You wrote that in an email discussion, within the last couple of weeks amongst a handful of us. I couldn't agree more. I love Redick as a player on this. I don't know what happened to prevent him from auditioning and then ending up on this team. He's a great compliment for what this team sort of needs now with the profile that it has.
And if not him, then Kyle Korver. But somebody
Sure, right.
that I just know that every time he's wide open is going to make a shot. And I don't feel that way about Billups. And I also think Billups a little long in the tooth.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chauncey probably has enough left in his legs to make a significant contribution. It wouldn't surprise me if at the end of the day the U.S. is successful and that Chauncey's a big part of that. But for sure, he's not optimal.
My fear is that he's a little better than he thinks he is, and there's not other veterans on this team to kind of pull the alpha dog away from him.
So kids are going to defer to him?
Well, Durant won't, but if they take out Durant, all of a sudden you're in a situation where, and Derrick Rose can't get to the rim, then who's the next guy who's going to create a shot? It's going to be Chauncey. We watched it happen in the Spain game, which they barely won. They got some terrible shots. Like Iguodala threw a three off the backboard. Chauncey's in traffic.
Yeah, right.
Chauncey
drives into a double team and tries to loft one over that barely touches the rim.
I mean, it's
concerning, no doubt.
Well, it seems like the crunch time is going to be Derrick Rose, Billups, Iguodala. Now that right there, I'm scared because there's not one out of those three guys that I feel like can create a good shot every time.
Demand a basket.
Derrick Rose is the closest. Yeah. Billups is the best shooter. Iguodala is just if he shoots once, they should just shoot him with a stun gun.
He should be prohibited from doing anything with the ball in the offensive end other than passing it.
He should spend the summer watching tapes of like Trevor Ariza in the finals and these guys that are glue guys that know what they are and what they aren't. And Iguodala to me seems like there's 25% of him that thinks, oh no, I'm really good. It's like, no, you're not really good. You're a very good defensive player and rebounder and athlete, but we don't want you to shoot ever.
Yeah.
So you got those three, and then you have Durant and you have Lamar Odom, and they're just going to be small, and that's the way it is.
I think it's okay. Like I say, it wouldn't surprise me if they win.
No, I listen, they're probably the best bet, but man, if Spain got it going and they just started going to Marc Gasol every play down the stretch, and Odom is guarding Marc Gasol in a tight game, I think that's a real issue. I don't think they have somebody to bring in off the bench that could shut him down. And it's Marc Gasol, for God's sakes. Not like I'm talking about Will Chamberlain.
Well, how about this? Gasol, and I can tell you because he was on my fantasy team this past season, he thinks it's the free throw line.
Well, he does.
The U.S. team ought to go ahead and just use up all of its fouls. That's what Tyson Chandler's on the team for. That's what Kevin Love is on the team for. Well, they just need to use up all their fouls if that really becomes, an issue.
Kevin Love is the X factor on this team because he got hurt during the exhibition games and he got a concussion. But if they can get anything out of him,
well, he had a good game Wednesday, didn't he? He had a 12 and 10, I think I saw.
Well, what I'd love for them to do, I think they're looking at because if so many guards, they feel obligated to play some of them at the same time. I'd like to see them go a little bigger. I'd like to see them go with a Rose, Iguodala, Durant, Kevin Love, Odom.
Oh, I thought you were going to include Gay in there.
Well, for some reason they're not playing Gay, and I don't understand why.
Yeah.
It seems like I would rather see him than Iguodala, but they're so infatuated with Iguodala's defense. I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting.
I like my Spain bet, though. I think my Spain bet's going to at least be in the finals.
I got nervous for you. I didn't get in on any action, but I got nervous for you with the news that Calderon was hurt.
Right.
And
then you remembered that he sucked.
And I also didn't like anything that I saw out of Rudy Fernandez.
Yeah, what's happened to him?
Yeah, right. The bottom, right off a cliff, that guy.
Terrible. They can't even get a first-round pick for him.
No, and nor should they.
It's good for the Knicks, though.
Why?
Because I think he's going to end up on the Knicks, and that's somebody who has DNA to be good. And I think he's just lost his confidence because he was in a bad situation.
Yeah, the Knicks could be the perfect kind of situation for his game, too.
The Knicks fans will... Because I think this is already going to happen with Randolph. The Knicks fans are just going to respond to Randolph, and he's going to feed off that. And I think Fernandez is one of those guys, too. If they can get him, even if they give up $3 million and
a second-round pick.
Yeah, and a second-round pick and the rights to some foreign guy we've never heard of and something, whatever. If they can somehow steal him, I think that would really help them.
That would be interesting. Yeah. They have a lot of wing players, the Knicks.
Now, what did you think of the Kristich fight?
The clip that I saw of it looked like he was in the background awfully cowardly, and then the chair comes flying out. I mean, I didn't really understand it, and all of the reports I read talked about how out of character that was for him. Did he just lose his mind temporarily?
I think he was scared of the Greek Shack. Greek Shack was coming at him, and he got frightened.
He got and he went to the chair. And it looks like I haven't seen any updates, but FIBA was still assessing what they were going to do with him. They might kick him out too.
Last thing quickly, it looks like Carmelo's moving because teams have finally learned that when the guy wants out, you have to trade them. And
you have to be prepared to take 15 cents on the quarter, or
now if you trade him now, you're getting 80 to 85 cents. That was Colangelo's big mistake last year in Toronto, is that everybody knew Bosch was going to leave, and he's sitting there with his fingers crossed, hoping he's going to change his mind, and then he gets nothing out of it.
Oh no, he has the trade exemption.
Oh, he got an awesome trade exemption he'll never use. But man, once you get a whiff that guy's out the door, you got to move him, and it seems like Denver is going to move Carmelo sooner than later, which they should, and Clipper fans getting very, very excited about that.
I read, I saw your tweets on this topic.
Yes.
The thing that I still wonder about, who would say no to Bynum for Melo?
Oh. Well,
I mean, imagine Melo and Kobe.
So, but our test would have to be in that trade.
Okay. So our test can be in it.
So you're saying Bynum and Artest for Kenyon Martin and Carmelo?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Bynum makes the salaries don't work. They
Why?
have to throw in Vujicic's contract because Carmelo makes like 17 and Martin makes like 16.
Oh, because they're the combination it puts them in the low 30s, and you need Bynum's only making 11. Is that right?
He might be making like 12 or 13. Joe, can you look this up? My computer's shut off.
Sure, what do you need?
With I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you work during the podcast. The Bynum salary this year.
Andrew Bynum's salary?
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty interesting. Now I'm going to get a million emails from Laker fans saying why they can't trade Bynum.
That's preposterous. They can definitely trade Bynum.
Well, if I'm Denver, the number one thing I would want is Minnesota's 2012 pick because I know that's going to be a top 3 pick, and also, you don't want to trade Melo to a team that you're getting that team's number 1 pick back because he's going to make them better, and that pick's not going to be worth anything.
Right.
But you're telling me I get Minnesota's number 1 pick. We know there's going to be lockout in 2011. The whole year might be locked out, and then it will either go to the 2011 draft order or either way, you have their pick. So, I just think that's the number 1. And as you point out, if you can get somebody like Bynum, who's a legitimate blue chipper, I don't know if they can do better than that, unless the Nets brought Derek Favors in, but I'd rather have Bynum.
Oh, yeah, I'd rather have Bynum than Derek Favors.
He's going to be in a wheelchair in 3 years, but what were you going to say, Joe?
Bynum is a shade under $14 million for next season.
Oh, perfect.
So
he's 14. Ron Artest is 7, and Vujicic expiring he's 5.5. So there you go. Kmart and Melo for Artest, Bynum, and Vujicic. But they'd have to eat Artest's contract for 4 years.
Who, Denver would?
I mean, he's got 4 years
left.
Well,
they could do some cash considerations. I think the Lakers would be willing to throw in some cash considerations to get Melo and team him up with Kobe.
Another $3 million. I still don't know if I'd do that if I'm Denver. If I'm Denver, the best trade that I can do is to try to get Eric Gordon from the Clips with the Minnesota pick.
I mean, that's a pretty good trade.
Kaman, Gordon, and the Minnesota pick. That's 100 cents that might even be more than 100 cents in the dollar. I like Eric Gordon.
I like Eric Gordon a lot. I mean,
I don't know if I want to trade him. I don't know if I'd do that trade. I don't know if I would trade Eric Gordon and the Minnesota pick for Melo.
Oh, come on.
I don't know if I would.
Melo's a monster. He's a monster.
But you're not winning right away next year because you're also putting Kaman in the trade.
I'm not sure that you're not. Why aren't you winning next year?
Because you have Carmelo and Blake Griffin, and that's your entire team. And Baron Davis.
Kristich is available.
Kristich in his chair. So if you're Denver, you're saying to the Clippers, here's what we'll do. And Eric Gordon, Kaman, and the Minnesota pick.
For sure, that helps Denver's narrative. Denver says, look, guys, we were sort of confronted with this untenable situation to its fan base. And you guys, you fans, you've all seen it. He kind of demanded. We made him the best offer we could make him. He's willing to take less from another team. And everybody says, yeah, that Melo is a little bit of a D move. But, yeah, you guys did a good job in bringing back some talent. I love the idea of Gordon because of the youth element. And that's the same reason that I think Bynum makes sense.
I'm going to end the speculation with the Clippers right now because somebody pointed this out to me last night. Who knows these things? Donald Sterling has never traded a number one pick, ever.
Really?
Future number one, apparently. And if he has, it happened 20 years ago, but he does not. He has this philosophy that you don't trade future number one picks. You just don't.
That's breathtaking.
This person told me that Donald Sterling never, under any circumstances, will trade that Minnesota pick.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of understand the logic because of the economics of that number one pick.
He's paying that pick $0.
Exactly.
It's hope for the fans. It's because he knows what suckers Clipper fans are and fans are in general, and they can look at that Minnesota pick and go, oh,
yeah,
unprotected.
It's worth 10 times what he's paying for it to the fan base.
And in this case, man, if that pick comes out and then they have Griffin and they have Gordon, and really that's your nucleus for the rest of the decade, and that turns out to be a top 3 pick, that's a pretty good nucleus, especially if Aminu turns out any good. So we'll cross the Clippers off. Another team that people have been talking about is Charlotte because they have the Dampier contract that you can just waive. So they could give them Gerald Wallace, the Dampier contract, money, future number ones, and whatever else for Carmelo and Kenyon Martin. That leaves me cold.
Yeah, I don't love it. It feels too much like you're trying to sell the Denver fans on a reorg rather than a restructure. You know what I mean? A restructuring on the fly versus kind of a reorganization of the whole thing where you have to ask everybody to be willing to indulge the team taking on the chin for a couple of years. I think the way Denver's kind of positioned, it would be best to avoid that. You know, you want to get some value because you're going to be stuck. Chauncey's still on the team. J.R. Smith's still on the team. Chris Anderson still, you want to get, those are all sort of veteran guys. I think you want to try and see if you can't take another shot or two here in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years with what you have in place.
A reorg's not going to fly. And also, if you're going to reorg, then you move Chauncey in another deal.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes. You free up as much cap room as you can.
Well, the trade that would do that, which I tweeted last night, is a trade with Houston, in which they would give up Carmelo, Billups, and J.R. Smith, and Houston would give them Kevin Martin, Aaron Brooks, Jordan Hill, who they got for the Knicks, who was pretty promising last year, Jeffries and Battier, both expiring, combined $15 million. They could flip Battier for something else.
Yeah.
The Knicks 2012 pick, which is top 1 protected, and $3 million. And that trade would save them about $21 million this year. They'd get, quality guys from Houston. They'd be in good cap space for the future when Kmart's contract expires. They'd have no big contracts, basically. I mean, they could pretty much revamp within a year.
Yeah, the only thing I wonder about as I think about kind of making room this way, with Melo for sure going somewhere the next handful of months, and with Durant off the market, what does cap space do for anybody these days? What are teams like? If Denver were to acquire all this cap flexibility, what's it telling its fan base that it plans on doing with it? Because there aren't really any blue chippers coming up, are there?
Well, if you look at the Nets. If the Nets didn't have cap space, they wouldn't have been able to sign Johan Petro and Travis Outlaw. And who was the other terrible guy that said? I think Outlaw, but $35 billion was outrageous. But yeah, you're right. You can get screwed, and then on top of that, there's that NBA minimum of you only have so much money you could spend. It's like $44 million or something.
Yeah, you have to spend.
Have to spend it, which is why the Nets ended up having to overpay a couple guys to get to that spot.
Right.
The big kahuna in next year's free agent market is ironically Carmelo Anthony.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if you're Denver and you end up with that space, what are you telling your fans?
Yeah, but on the other hand, though, as we've seen some GMs do, we saw this with Oklahoma City, We saw this with Darryl did in Houston.
Well, we saw it also with Utah. Utah was the masterstroke to me.
When you create that cap space, and it was either go get somebody who's they're having a fire sale for, like Jefferson, you just pointed that out, or you can make those sneaky deals where, I'll take Matt Harper's contract, but you give me Eric Maynor, and you start adding little pieces that way. Yeah, and for sure it helps your competitive edge just to have the ability to go tender offer sheets. So like what Chicago did with Redick. Yep. That helps them in their Eastern Conference tussle with Orlando to have Orlando pay that premium for Redick. That flexibility means something. I want Carmelo to get traded before the season because I was already on a scale of 100, I was like a 98.5 for this season. And I think if he can go to a team where they'd be a contender if they got him. Yeah. And then we have another gang, and you know how I love the gangs. Right. You get the Laker gang, you get the Celtic gang, you get the Miami gang. I think Chicago's officially a gang. Ooh, can Melo end up on Chicago? I saw somebody tweeted something about dang. Nah, that's not enough. But if Melo goes to Houston with Dork Elvis pulling the strings and some of the guys they already have, you could talk them. They might be a gang, especially if Billups is in that trade. They could be a gang. And especially if, I hate to jinx it, but what if Yao has, Yao's only like 29. Yeah. Why can't he be good? It's that foot. I know, sure. But he says he heard it 18 months ago. We'll root for it. Ilgauskas came back. I'm in favor of gangs, too. Don't get me wrong. Be good. He's going to be very top-heavy, Christina Hendricks-like league, which is nice. I'd like San Antonio to be a gang again. They're kind of one player away, really. I think it might be the end of the run for them, unfortunately. All right. Well, who knows the splitter? Who knows? Yeah. We don't know. Haven't seen enough of Splitter yet. I'm going to change topics really quickly. And Orlando, we forgot about the Dwight Howard game. Well, they have a move to make yet. They may end up being trade partners with the Wizards for Gilbert. Well, that was the only other team that I was looking at, wondering if that was a potential match for Melo. Orlando? Yeah. So they get Vince's expiring and what, Jameer? And the problem is they don't really have that piece that you can point to and say, we got this. Because I'm lukewarm on Jameer Nelson. Yeah. Where does he take you? If he's your fourth best guy, you're in good shape. But other than that, I don't know. He's not going to be one of the best three guys on a team that wins the championship. Yep. And they don't have that other piece. I don't know. I don't see it. But that would be interesting. Like, it would have. I guess they couldn't talk themselves into Rashard Lewis for $30 million a year. I know. Goodness gracious. Yeah. What were you going to say? I just had a question before we jumped off. You mentioned being in Vegas. Did you get the NFL win total overs and unders? I know what they are. Okay. That's what Cousin Sal and I just did a whole podcast. Good. That's what I wanted to hear. Washington was 7.5. I'm going to take the over because I like the half. I like 8. I like Washington at 8 this year. We came to the conclusion that the NFC East will be bunched between 8 wins and 10 wins, basically everybody. I think that's a reasonable conclusion. Yeah. It's going to be a strong look better, division. But yeah. So you and Sal did this? Yeah. And when does it go up? During the podcast that people are listening to right now, and they're saying, Jesus House. We just listened to that. Good times. I promise I wasn't put up to asking about this. Right. It's just something that, as a sports fan, I'm looking forward to getting some input on. You'll enjoy it. All right, Joe House. Sorry about Strasburg. Me too. Hang in there. I will. Enjoy your second Bloody Mary. I already had that. I'm looking at number 3. Talk to you soon.
So I get to sign off. Whoa.
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Pod Center at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.